Hello all. Since the month started on a Wednesday, it seemed like it's been a really long time since there was a major release of patches and updates. Well, never fear, your wait is over. Adobe, Apache, Cisco, Microsoft, PHP, SAP, Splunk, and more released updates to fix holes, defects, and vulnerabilities this past week. Some are highlighted in our headline news, and others are linked elsewhere in this week's newsletter. Anthropic, Mythos, and Claude 4.7 are continuing to make news, as is Adobe with their Creative Cloud's move into the world of AI. And regarding AI, there are some interesting developments in the news that are singularly interesting, but when taken together are starting to make my spidey senses tingle. More on that in my musing section. This email and video commentary is from the RedDotSecurity.news website that contains a plethora of links to other items that aren't mentioned here and are worth skimming to see if they interest you or pertain to your particular environment or of those you support. There's a lot more than what's provided in these opening comments. So let's get to the headline news. Adobe Acrobat patched 0-day last week, and this week Adobe coughed up fixes for Illustrator, Reader, Acrobat, Photoshop, Bridge, Cold Fusion, Connect, FrameMaker, Experience Manager, InCopy, and InDesign. Basically, if you have anything Adobe, check for updates. And if you're not already applying them already, you probably should. Cisco released patches for multiple WebEx components, Identity Services Engine, Unity Connection, and Thousand Eyes Enterprise Agent. Some of these are rated critical and can allow for remote code execution and user impersonation. There's no known active exploitation of these yet. Fortinet can't stay out of the news and has a pair of critical Forta defects in their Forta sandbox. Both can enable an unauthenticated attacker to execute unauthorized code or commands, according to FortiLab. They're currently not known to be exploited, so patch quickly. Microsoft nearly broke a record this month with the second largest patch release in a single month with 167 defects, 2 of which are being actively exploited already. Now, the most serious of these is the SharePoint server flaw, which allows an unauthenticated threat actor to view and tamper with information on the server. Microsoft advises that the updates be applied as soon as possible. Now, if this wasn't bad enough, a security researcher named Chaotic Eclipse, in a bit of spite due to a disagreement with Microsoft, published a 0-day vulnerability that weaponizes Microsoft Defender against itself. Now, Microsoft patched for that vulnerability with this month's update. Chaotic Eclipse then promptly released 2 more defects in how Windows Defender functions, ensuring it was after Microsoft's released patches. Thank you for making everyone's life more difficult with your temper tantrum, Chaotic Eclipse. Your actions are marginally better than that of a threat actor. Splunk Enterprise and Cloud Platform has a defect in how Splunk processes temporary files that enables a remote code execution attack. To be successful, the attacker only needs to have low privilege account access. There is a mitigation available if you can't update immediately. However, admins are advised to update to the latest version as soon as possible to fix this flaw. Now, Microsoft vulnerabilities continued. In addition to a major Patch Tuesday defects that everyone talks about, there's some additional vulnerabilities which Microsoft has released updates for. There are a BitLocker bypass, an Active Directory vulnerability involving remote procedure call that enables a compromise if the threat actor already has any level of access on the target network, and believe it or not, the Windows snipping tool can be used to steal a user's credentials. Now, naturally, that involves server message block and malicious links that reach out to the threat actor-controlled infrastructure. We've seen that type of attack using Outlook, all of the Microsoft Office product suite, File Explorer, and now the snipping tool. All of the aforementioned vulnerabilities received patches in the April Patch Tuesday release from Microsoft, so update quickly. Microsoft Remote Desktop Protocol, or Remote Desktop, has changed the way that .rdp files function after you apply the April Patch Tuesday updates. If you attempt to launch a remote desktop session by opening a file with the .rdp extension, you'll receive a dialog box that requires you to approve the connection and to select which local device resources to bring to the RDP session. I expect that this will catch quite a few remote desktop users by surprise. They won't enable access to their devices, and then they'll call tech support for help. But hey, that's why we exist, right? Artificial intelligence continues to surprise those of us watching from the sidelines with how quickly it's advancing in capability. The one-upsmanship game is extreme among the major vendors such as Anthropic, Microsoft, OpenAI, Google, Meta, and xAI. Every week we read about a new major development or breakthrough in how the AI thinks and behaves. Thankfully, at least some of them appear to be putting guardrails and walled gardens around their most potent creations. I read a lot of tech headlines and articles, and several that caught my attention in the past 2 weeks dealt with AI, robotics, and autonomous flight. As mentioned, AI is advancing at unbelievable speed. Last week, I noted that China's Alibaba marketplace is expected to start selling incredibly dexterous robots for a mere $4,300 soon. China just conducted a half marathon where hundreds of robots were entered into the competition. Some were laughably bad, but others were shocking with their speed and fluidity. And the winner broke the human world record time for a half marathon. This week, I read about both the U.S. Army and U.S. Air Force successfully flying autonomous helicopters and fighter jets. I saw yet another article this week that spoke of deploying drone swarms from the back of the same model helicopter that was used in the autonomous test. Drone swarms are already computer controlled. We're very close to a technological convergence where AI will be able to drive our cars, direct our robots, fly our planes and helicopters, and wage warfare. Now, didn't I see this movie? Now, all is not lost. One of this week's linked articles talks about the beginning of AI scarcity, or scarcity in AI. And it makes a lot of sense. Presently, there's only so much compute power and space to be had. As new AI models are introduced, they demand increased power and increased capacity at a rate that can't be kept up with, necessitating rationing and significantly increased costs, which will slow adoption. So perhaps the prior observations will take a bit longer to come to fruition. We can only hope. Keep the shields up.